everybody. My name is Connie Stowers and I am a quilter. I've been quilting for, I don't know, probably since 1998, 97, something like that, fervently. Before that I was kind of self-taught and didn't know what I was doing until I went to a great quilt shop called Quilter's Attic in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, which is, I'm afraid, no longer. But anyway, that's where I learned and took some classes. So I thought what I'd do, I'm going to call this, I know this is going to be corny, but I'm going to call this Do, Re, Mi, Let's Sew. For beginners, for somebody who thinks they want to get into quilting, I'm first going to talk about some of the tools you need, because with every new project or skill, it's all about the tools, and sometimes they can be so fun. So the modern world has definitely made things easier for us than what our foremothers had to do with little pieces of cardboard and a pencil and cutting out and all that sort of thing. So the cutting utensils are fantastic, and the best thing about the cutting is a rotary cutter, which is basically a pizza cutter on a wheel. And it comes in different sizes. But the thing to remember is it's not a pizza cutter, it's a razor blade. So these things can be quite dangerous if in the wrong hands. So you've got to be really careful with them. My favorite brand is Olfa. They're very long-lasting, precise. There's a kind of a different brand, and I think Dritz makes this one, is where you would put pressure down and your blade is exposed to cut the fabrics. That's not my favorite because I usually like to cut through more than 1 or 2 layers at a time. Sometimes I'll cut through 8. That's as big as I go, but you need a bigger rotary cutter to cut through lots of layers. This tiny one is to cut around smaller shapes. You don't have to have all this to begin. Just choose. This size is the most popular size. It's usually in this format. You know, the handle looks like this. It's a 45 millimeter rotary cutter. I have one like here that's ergonomic, that helps, you know, with your joints and stuff. And the blade can be exposed or not. So this is how you expose the blade on this style. You just pull that back and push it up. Get in a habit of closing it every time you lay it down. I was teaching a class one time and a rotary cutter fell off the table and hit a lady's foot and went through her shoe and cut her foot. Thankfully, it wasn't a bad cut. She didn't have to go to the hospital. But the woman whose foot was cut was not the owner of the rotary cutter. So you can imagine how embarrassed that lady was when she realized her rotary cutter cut that lady's foot. So close it, open it to use it, close it, which I'll show you how to use it in another time. I'm just doing supplies this time. Rotary cut. Now, another thing you need is a self-healing mat. They come in all sizes. This one is 24 by 18, which is a good beginner size. This may be one of the more costly. These supplies are the more costly, but once you buy them, you don't have to replace them for a long, long, long time. So I like the Olfa brand of mat. It lasts a long time. It comes in different colors. Sometimes they have pink ones, sometimes they have turquoise ones. It just depends. The green is the standard basic one. I've got several of these. My cutting table is big enough that I've got 2 18 by 24s together and then one 36-inch one by 24. So I've got a big space. I've got a 2-yard space basically to cut on my surface, which was a long time coming, but it was, I'll talk more about that in another one. Excuse me. in another video also. So to use with your cutter and your mat, you need rulers. Acrylic rulers are designed for quilting. Now, they come in all different brands as well. My favorite, not that I'm the be-all end-all, but my favorite is the Creative Grid brand. And it's because the lines are so very fine. You can see up to the 1/16 of an inch fairly easily. Take that back, that's 1/8 of an inch. You can see that very easily to be able to line up your fabric on. This one also has little bitty, it's kind of raised dots built in so that when you put it on your fabric, it doesn't shift all around. The basic ruler that I like to advise people to get first is a 6.5 by either 18.5 or 24.5. And that's because with the 24.5, you'll be able to cut all the way across a width of fabric folded once. So those are the basics. There's also, at some point, you will need a square ruler for squaring up blocks. That they come in all sizes. Y'all, they like for us to have all the gadgets. So they make all the gadgets. So here is a 4.5 inch square. The great thing about it is you can lay it on a little half square triangle like this, and then you can see to square that down exactly where you need it to be, because this diagonal runs along the half square, and that just is convenient. These come in from, the smallest I've seen is 2.5 inches. They may have a smaller one than that, all the way up to, I've got a 20.5 that's on the floor over there, but here's a 16.5. So anyway, those are some of the basic tools you need to get started. Now, they can be found at your local quilt shop, which I like to support. They can be found at the big box stores. Now, the big box stores are not going to carry the Creative Grid brand. They're more likely to carry the Omnigrid brand, which is also a good brand, but the lines are a little thicker. I actually have one right here. So you can see the difference. And when you are cutting, the finer the line, the more accurate your cutting's gonna be. Even if you're off by a thread, sometimes, if you think about it this way, if you're off a 1/16 of an inch on a block, and you've got 4 seams in that block, and you're off a 1/16 of an inch, that's gonna make you off 4/16, which is, get your math brain, is 1/4 of an inch off. If you're off just 1/16 of an inch on each seam, you're gonna be off 1/4 inch on the whole block, which can really mess up your accuracy later on. So those are your basic tools, notion tools that you will need for quilting. A rotary cutter, a ruler, and a mat. And the basic ruler size I would get first is a 6 or 6.5. I prefer 6.5 by 18 or 24. I like this 18 because it fits another place. I use it a lot, so I use it a lot. Anyway, so that's our first little installment of Do Re Mi Let's Sew. Bye.